Alex O'Connor recently raised an interesting challenge to Christianity on the Diary of a CEO podcast. Have a listen.
I think she did something immoral.
Yeah, she disobeyed God.
And what did she eat from? The tree of the...
I'm not sure.
She ate from the tree of the knowledge
of good and evil. Right.
So she ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, implying that before she ate of it, she didn't have a knowledge of good and evil.
Well,
how can she have done something immoral before she ate it?
Can I ask you a question?
Hold on.
No, this goes to a contradiction of my view, so I just need to clarify this.
Do you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I understand entirely, sure.
If she hasn't eaten from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, she doesn't know good and evil. So how does she know that it's evil if she hadn't yet eaten from the knowledge of good and evil?
Alex's point is quite obvious. If Eve didn't already have the knowledge of good and evil, then she couldn't have been morally culpable for her actions. When someone commits even a truly terrible crime like murder, as opposed to eating some fruit, and we find out that they've been impaired by some kind of mental illness compromising their ability to understand right and wrong, we don't hold them morally accountable. There's no punishment, only help.
But this contradiction only appears if you take the phrase knowledge of good and evil in a very narrow way. In fact, I want to show you that Alex's interpretation creates a contradiction that really isn't there. On Alex's view, eating from the tree gives you a divine intellectual download of moral facts that you didn't have before. But is this really what the tree is all about? Let's take a look.
Tim's going to reacquaint us all with the classic, ever-popular sub-mental Christian apologetic known as words don't mean words. Make sure you've got your dunce cap on.
First, the context implies Adam and Eve already had some awareness of right and wrong.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Tim is going to tell us that there's some context we've missed when reading his context.
In chapter 2, God gives the command, "You shall not eat." This is a moral prohibition, but a prohibition assumes they had some moral awareness.
Which is why this story is so fucking stupid. God knows that they don't have the knowledge of good and evil yet. And he clearly doesn't want them to have the knowledge of good and evil. That's the whole point of commanding them not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If they already had that knowledge, God wouldn't need to prohibit them eating from the tree and gaining that knowledge. And how exactly would Adam and Eve have already known anything about right and wrong? They were created perfect in a perfect world by a perfect being who said that everything was good. There was nothing wrong for them to know. Nor would they have imagined ill of their perfect creator, thinking that he would allow something imperfect into their perfect world. Here, Tim is employing the time-honored Christian apologetic known as talking out your ass. If God knew Adam and Eve already had some awareness, or shall we say knowledge of right and wrong, good and evil, then they didn't need to eat from the tree to gain that knowledge, did they? Tim thinks we're really stupid, that we can't do the math. Let's just go to the next clip.
Obeying God is good, disobeying God is bad.
That would be called having a knowledge of good and bad. The whole point of the story, though, is that humans acquiring that knowledge by eating from the tree brings evil or bad into the world, which was previously lacking evil or bad. Nor do Adam and Eve know that God is good and can be trusted because they don't yet have the knowledge of what is good. And an all-good being certainly wouldn't allow a deceitful talking serpent into their perfect all-good garden, right? Adam had even less reason to trust God, who saw that it was not good for Adam to be alone and decided to make a partner for Adam. I know what you're thinking, that's Eve, right? But no. God had Adam check out all the animals first. If I'm Adam, I'm thinking maybe this God guy is good fucking the flamingos, but this bestial shit ain't gonna cut it. Maybe that was the first test to see if Adam would fuck the flamingos, since God later prohibited doing so.